3, 2, 1, go. Hey, it's Bibster Talks 2 podcast, the podcast that I said I was going to do weekly shows, and then I stopped doing them like last May because things got busy. But we're back, and we're super excited because we have Nick Stoop with us tonight. If you haven't heard of his story, you're going to hear it obviously in tonight's podcast, but if you've been in dirt track racing in the last 2 weeks, you've definitely heard his story and seen his car. So, Nick, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about how you got into racing?
Okay, my name is Nick Stoop, 60 years old, from a small town, North Mississippi, Boonville, and I'm not from a racing family. I can remember once or twice going to a local racetrack up here with my father, but I met a friend of mine, Ben Miller, at a factory I worked at, and he asked me to start helping him work on his race car.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the way I got started as far as going to the racetrack and stuff like that.
And what kind of what class was that car that when you got started off on?
Same thing, factory stock.
Okay. And so that's
same thing, factory stock. That's all I've ever run.
Now, when did you make the transition from being in the crew to being behind the wheel?
Like I said, me and Ben was working on the car. He was driving. Went out there one time. I'd been watching the races. Said, "Man, I want a hot lap one night. Try it." Okay. Yep. So at that time too, down there at the little track we was running at Baldwin, there'd be 60 just factory stock cars. They would run 3 features and pay everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Ben, I said one night when all them crazy people that'll just run over you for nothing, it's not in your group. I said, I'd like to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So the next weekend, we went to the racetrack. Ben went and drawed a number. He come walking down there. He said, tonight's your night. That's what he's talking about. He said, all those crazy folks is racing in different groups, so you're going to get to drive. So I got out there. I hot lapped, and we was walking down there to the car. And I told Ben, I done chickened out. I said, Ben, get in there and drive. I said, I don't want to. He said, Nick, he said, if you don't get in there and drive, he said, that old car will sit there all night. We'll sit up there and watch the races. He said, we'll load her up and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that, he knew that I was going to get in there. But I remember Ben, the type of person he was, the last thing he told me, he said, Nick, have fun. He said, tear this car up. Don't hurt yourself. He said, I'll try to have us one down there Monday or Tuesday. We'll try to work on it and come back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, like I said, that's the way that I got started in racing. Don't reckon, there's no one in my family that's ever, dirt raced or anything like that.
Now, for those, a lot of the dirt track fans, when you say factory stock, we can all kind of equate it to a class that may be from where we're at. But for those not, so factory stock, is that, it sounds kind of what it sounds like, pretty much a really like a pretty factory still car?
Yeah, the car like where I run at, they check us as far as to be legal. We have to pull 16 inches of vacuum at 900 RPMs,
okay.
which limits your cam size.
Mm-hmm.
We can only run like a factory type shock, no weight jacks. We can run a 9-inch forward rear end. No Burt, no brim transmissions. Has to be an old 3-speed or something like that, 4-speed. I have always run a 2-speed power glide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Basically, kick the windows out of an old car and you weld, build you a good safe cage, and go racing.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about your race car then. So from all the little bit of research I've done, it says that you've been racing that particular 82 Cutlass for just a couple of years. Talk about that ride a little bit.
I've actually been racing that car for 14 years.
Nice.
It was new in 2008, and first place I ran that car was North Alabama. Me and a friend of mine, I remember, we worked on that car about 8 months, welding and stuff like that, and I can remember the reason I remember it so good is I set it on the ground the day before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat back, and I said, well, I know what Santa Claus is bringing me this year.
Oh, yeah.
Old car over there at North Alabama, it done good that year, which I don't know, for that year, for some reason, every time I drawed a number, I started top 3, top 5. That helps out. But I won 2 races over there that year. And I was down here at the shop working on something, fiddling around, and a friend of mine Onion called me. He said, Nick, he said, you ever look at the internet? I said, no. He said, well, you need to. He said, you and that car of yours over there is a track champion. But now over there, when I was racing, never looked at points or nothing like that. I went to have fun and, you know, never thought about points, championships and stuff. I was just having fun.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what's so so great about your story and just what I think dirt track racing needs. You know, you see a lot of guys out there that they get, you know, you when you see guys fighting and guys, you know, driving rough because they're not having a good night. And it's like, you know, when you step back, you know, we are just out there racing old cars on an old dirt track. So it seems like you've got it figured out how to have a good time and, you know, have fun with it, but not, you know, not get so caught up in what's going on.
Yeah, you know, racing, I love it, but, you know, it's just another part of my life and other people's life that they like. Still have to work for a living, stuff like that. I've got 3 kids, you know, still got to do family stuff, but, you know, racing's a big part of it, too, in my life.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I think, you know, I think that's just so great. So you're a part of Team Xtreme Racing, and that's kind of how everyone seemed to kind of come across your story after Bristol. And like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit. Talk about how you came a part of that team and what Xtreme Racing is and what they kind of stand for and how that works.
A good friend of ours that passed away, Ed Stearns, he used to race a lot, and we kind of decided to call us the Xtreme Racing Team after him, and the X is just to remind us that, you know, him and another friend of ours, Kenny Wheeler, that always went to the races, is gone, and, you know, just a way to recognize them. I know his race shop he always called Race Central.
Okay.
Like I said, Ed, best friend, miss him every day. Been many a Saturday that I had to work, my car was not ready. He got a key to my shop, he'd come down here and work all day long. I get off work, it's ready to go, Nick. I said, well, let's go. He said, I'm tired, I'm going to the house. Come by in the morning and tell me how you doing. You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing that hurts me is Kenny and Ed is not here to enjoy this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Ed would be bouncing off the wall. He would.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's been a wild couple weeks for you. You know, all of a sudden kind of, you know, I was talking to one of my buddies that races up here and I said, oh, hey, you know, I get to talk to Nick on Monday. And he told me, he asked me, his name's Derek Wilson. He'll probably be listening. He goes, ask him. He goes, do you know you're internet famous now? And I said, I think he does. Let's talk about, let's kind of get into Bristol a little bit. So what made you decide to go and talk about that experience and what that was like?
Like I said, there's a lot of my friends that, you know, that helped me out to get there. But a friend of mine, John Warnick, I went to school with him pretty much all my life. His son's got a 602 late model. Okay. Which I've heard, you know, they're putting dirt on Bristol for NASCAR. You know, I'd like to watch that race for sure. But anyhow, he called me. He said, Nick, he said, they're inviting people to come. He said, I'm putting Jonathan's name in. He said, Jonathan wants to go. I said, okay. He said, what about you? I said, is there a class, you know, my car would run with? He looked, he said, yeah. I said, well, put my name in. And I'll be true with you, I got thinking about money and stuff like that. And I had about decided I was not going to go. He called me that day. First words out of his mouth, we're going to down Bristol. That's the way this got started. And then he finally printed the rules off of the class. And when I read the rules, I told John, I said, ain't no way we can run with these boys, you know. I seen the rules, I said, we can't run with them. But I told him, I said, you know, it's Bristol. I said, I bet you we can go up there, hopefully have fun. I said, I believe I can stay out of everybody's way, hopefully not get run over and make somebody mad. You know, that was, well, my goal was go up there. If I got the hot lap and they said, Nick, that old car ain't good enough to run here no more, I'd have loaded it up, watched the races, and I'd still come back happy because, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Just a handful of people can say they've run Bristol.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
or more than that can say they've run Bristol and it had dirt on it.
Yeah. It's a small group of individuals that, you know, got an opportunity And to take that, I knew in our area and being from the Iowa, we're deep in IMCA land here. So there was a lot of guys from around here. I mean, a lot of the guys were winning races. I've either, talked with them or seen them at racetracks. And so it was cool. But so it was cool to see a lot of Iowa races there. But it was, I knew a lot of guys that were saying, you know what, I don't, there's a lot of naysayers. And you saw that, oh man, you're going to blow your whole race, your racing budget for the whole year on one race. And I said, yeah, but you only have one chance to go race at Bristol, Like, so what if,
Some people ask me, is that have been a dream of yours to run Bristol? I never thought in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Run Bristol. No, didn't dream about that because no, there weren't going to be no NASCAR driver, and that's about it,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I mean, I haven't actually checked to see how the NASCAR race, I saw how the truck race went, but I was at work all day, so I figured I'd catch up on that when it was done. But, and people were saying, oh, it's going to be, this and that. I said, you know what? They're trying something different, Yep. I mean, it was, where else are they, like, what other completely paved track are they like, we're just going to throw a bunch of dirt on it and just see what happens. And it looked like a good time. So talk a little bit, how was Bristol? So you had your opportunity to go out there and talk a little bit about the week and how it all played out.
It was great. I mean, when I got out there in hot lap, biggest smile on my face. But when we pulled up, I ain't never been to a place that big.
Mm-hmm.
They say that place, I think, seats like 160,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to racing at a little dirt track around here, and if Super Late Models is there, that's a big crowd,
Yeah.
We're just in awe. But as far as getting out there on the track, I tried to drive like, even though it's Bristol, hey, it's a dirt track,
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it rained some while we was there. We met some great people from all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And made friends, I believe. Had fun. Like I said, it rained us out one day, which we didn't get to. One of our qualifying days was washed out, but we made up our last chance race on a Saturday, which I think you had to finish fourth in it. I finished 16th. Hey. That's what gets me. I tell people, the ugliest, slowest car out there.
Uh-huh.
And everybody's talking about it. It just, blows my mind.
Well, I think it was I told, a couple of times when I was posting stuff, I said, this is the story the dirt world needed, after that weekend. And there was, like the joke of, Glovegate. And, it's like no one's talking about 2 weeks after Bristol dirt, for, the stock cars, other than, NASCAR. No one's talking about any of the other storylines that were going on because I think that's what everyone wanted. After the not fun of last year for however it was, we got the race around here, but, a lot of tracks didn't get the race. The story of the guy that goes and just out there to have a good time and realizing, that's what that race was all about, was people, getting to experience something that they never get to do. And so for you to get to do that, that's awesome.
Yep. Like I said, tickled me to death.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have stood up there, with a winning the race, I don't believe I'd have been very much more happy.
Oh yeah. I think it was, I think you ended up being one of the biggest winners out of that whole week. So let's talk. So now, the rest of the year, that was your first. Now up north, we don't start racing for a couple months. Now down there, have you guys been racing all winter long, or is it your season about to start?
No, sir. Our season is about to start. The local tracks was going to try to open up Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much rained everything out. There is one track over here at Moulton, Alabama. They run on a Friday night. I think they have run about 3, maybe 4 races.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, all the others, I reckon, hopefully, if the weather holds out, we're going to go somewhere Saturday night.
Nice.
I got my gears changed back. Had to change my gears to go to Bristol, so
mm-hmm.
I got them changed back. I reckon we're pretty much ready to go.
Nice. It's going to be it might be a little bit different in the pits for you when you go back to your first local race now that, everyone's
just... Like me. A lot of times I'd go to the racetrack by myself. A few friends come over and talk. Some of the other drivers I race around, stuff like that. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I
do know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. Said everyone that I've talked to, I believe you would have been pitted by would have been a Jeff Larson, a B1, like a modified. Because they said that someone said that they were pitted near you, and they said it was just nicest guy, and he told me, they said make sure to pass that along to him. And I believe because the guy that he was at least friends with looked like it might have been Bone Larson, who you might have been pitted near. But it's another guy. It's from my he's a couple hours away from me. I see him every weekend. So
I remember him pitting beside us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I met some great people from all over. All over. That's one thing that I really enjoyed about it was the camaraderie and stuff like that. You get there, you don't know nobody. End of the week, you go into other people's trailer and just like it's home.
Yeah. That's awesome, and that's what I'm hoping. I don't think people said I'll be back next year. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna do it next year, just because it's kind of overtaking to put dirt on the track. But I think doing that on Bristol opens up some of these other short tracks. Maybe like a Martinsville, maybe some of these other smaller tracks that can be feasible to pull something like this off. And show that it's doable. They had 1,000 dirt cars, and even though they were like, this many cars blew their motors up, I said, yeah, but if you took that many cars raced on a Friday and Saturday night, you're probably going to have close as many blow-ups anyway, It's
like any dirt race. People going to blow motors. You're going to have wrecks. Cars going to roll over.
Mm-hmm.
You get 1,000 of them together, you're going to have more of it because you got more cars out there.
Yep.
That's
And
just part of it.
Yep, and put them on a track bigger than a lot of guys have run, and speeds that, are absolutely nuts to watch some of those times that are coming in going, oh my gosh, we got 4-cylinders going 95 mile an hour. Like, ooh, doggy. Most of our tracks around here, we run like, quarter miles and big quarter miles. So some of the guys that went down there had to definitely do some re-gearing. What are you're still running, so you're in factory stock. Have you thought about doing any other travelings for any other racing this year now, or just still kind of sticking around to the local stuff?
Well, I'm going to stick around here locally some, but tracks is calling from Texas, Ohio, everywhere, and that just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting Nick Stoop, and we probably will. That's like me. I've always liked to go to other places and race. There again, I work every day, so it's got to be Friday afternoon and hit the road and be back Monday morning for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know some tracks around here that I could probably talk to and be like, hey, we run hobby. Because I think what your class, it sounds like, is pretty similar to like our IMCA hobby stocks.
Yep.
I would assume, because we'd run the only, I don't know, do you have to run a DOT tire still, or can you run like a G60 or something?
No, around here, most of the tracks want you to run Hoosier 500.
Okay.
That's like I bought 6 cars, one of my biggest cows, to go to Bristol because they wanted you to run G60s.
Mm-hmm.
The local track that I run at the most up here at Corinth, they'll let you run the G60s.
Okay.
And if you go to Columbus or North Alabama, which we travel down there somewhere, it's fairly close, they want you to run the Hoosier 500s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all. Like I said, G6 up in this part of the world, G60s are pretty much like every class except for late models and then hobby stocks. Because our hobbies have to run a DOT style tire, which makes it. I always tell people, everyone always. It always seems like, oh, I want to see late models and I want to see sprint cars. I said, honestly, sometimes the best racing I've seen is in our 4-cylinders and our hobby stocks around here because, watching a guy with a 7-inch wide tire try and go on a dry slick track is going to be entertaining,
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be entertaining. Them little, when they started the front wheel drive class down here at our local tracks, I thought, I said, they're wasting their money. They ain't going to be a whole lot of them show up.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I didn't think about, kids today, they're not used to no rear wheel drive car. And them, front wheel drives, it's big classes around here now.
Oh, yeah. It
kept on growing and growing. And like I said, there's a lot of younger people that never drove no rear wheel drive vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And it's our biggest class, probably up in our area. It's usually our biggest car count for the night.
Yeah, and probably, really maybe one of the cheapest classes to get into too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they always, promoters love them because they pay the least and almost always bring the most people into the pits.
Yep.
It's because those young guys that are racing, it's everybody they have at that stage in life is like, I want to come be in your pit crew. And then as you get older, less and less guys are like, I want to be in your pit crew. So, they go in, there'll be 4 or 5 guys for a 4-cylinder. And then you look over at a late model and there's 2 guys like trying to get the thing set up for the, for the feature. And you're like, the math doesn't work here. But yeah. So you're always, have you ever now with all of this, have you thought about, changing, maybe going to a different class, or is factory stock your home and that's where you want to be?
Hey, I believe I've always said this.
Mm-hmm.
I can have just as much fun in factory stock
Mm-hmm.
as I can in another class. And the way I put it, when I hit the wall in factory stock, it don't cost nowhere like the money
Mm-hmm.
if it's a late model or something like that.
Oh yeah. What other, just as the northerner in the room, what other classes do you guys run? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you run late models and 4 cylinders. Do you guys have like a modified style or like a sport mod? What are the other
They've got
classes that race?
right above my class, they run what they call an outlaw, which is
Mm-hmm.
a lot bigger motor. You can run the aluminum rims and tires like late models. They can have wedge bolts on it, and then they jump up to 602 and 604 late models.
Okay.
Up here at my local track, they also run a class that's just pure factory. You can't put no headers and stuff like that on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's right below me. They also run a 2, a 4, and 6 cylinder front wheel drive class.
Ooh.
And I think they said this year they was going to add a 4 cylinder rear wheel drive class.
Ooh. That'd be kind of fun. I've seen some like the 4 cylinder late models that that some people have tried to kind of campaign, and we run a mini late model class around here, so that'd be kind of fun. 4 cylinder rear wheel drives.
Used to when I first started racing, they run 4 cylinder rear wheel drives.
Mm-hmm.
And one track up here where I usually raced at, they wouldn't let them run, but one track up here would let Volkswagens run.
Ooh, okay, that would
And
make.
them little things, I want to tell you, them
Mm-hmm.
little Volkswagens, they was waxing some booty.
Oh, I bet so.
That's the reason most of the tracks in that class wouldn't let them run.
Mm-hmm.
There's one or two of them there, that's first and second. Y'all boys best fall in behind them.
Oh yeah, that's always how racing works. You got to find that gray area in the rule book, and then the next year they also find the gray area and make that defined. It's always the creative reading of the rule books. Where my day job is, I work on building lawn tractor pullers, and so we're always looking for different little they haven't said that yet. They haven't said you can't do that.
Let's see if we can get away with it.
Yep. And then once you can't get away with it anymore, and that's the way we're up in our part of the world. We're in a big not issue, but it's all about crate motor racing, and on our modifieds, it's if you don't the tire they have to run really limits their power output. Like if you can try open motor racing, but when you lose your spoiler and you're on a hockey puck of a tire, you can't put that much power down. And it's this big debate especially after Bristol, like there's no crates out there. I got a buddy who's trying to go crate motor racing, and he can't find one. But for you, you don't have to worry about that. You're never in the fear of like, oh man, I got to go try and find a 604 somewhere.
Yep.
Talk a little about. I mean, I'm as a gearhead. Talk a little about your engine, what you can run, what you have, and I know it's mostly stock, but is it a small block Chevy or is it an Oldsmobile motor?
Mine's a small block Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can go to 362 cubic inches. We can run Vortec heads.
Mm-hmm.
Run any dual plane intake. Now, according to which track you run at, Corinth, they will let you run a 4-barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere else, you got to run a 500 2-barrel.
Yep.
450 lift cam. Like I say, we got to pull 16 inches of vacuum, 900 RPM. No sump pumps or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
According to what track you at, some of them let you run roller rock arms, some of them won't.
And that's not something you're like, oh, I'm going there this weekend. Let's change the rockers out. You're pretty much set for whatever track you're gonna run.
Last year or year before last, first time that I've ever went to a engine builder. Usually me and Ed, my friend, put all my motors together in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Ed passed away 5 years ago, and I went to an engine builder to get an engine built,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me, he said, now I can put a solid lift cam or I can put a hydraulic. He said, I want to tell you something, Nick. He said, I put a solid lift cam. He said, go buy you some nuts and bolts. You're going to have to, keep everything adjusted. I told him, I said, and I think he said it'll add about 6 horsepower.
Ooh.
I said, you put that hydraulic cam in there because I don't like to work on it.
Yeah, exactly. For 6 horsepower, if it's in our world, I work on like Kohler engines that you're trying to make 120 horsepower out of. So for us, 6 horsepower is a big deal. But for when it's the big scheme of things, you're like, that's a lot of screwing around for 6 horsepower when I'm not going to be able to hook up to it anyway. I'm not going to feel that.
And if you don't, keep everything adjusted right, you've lost your 6 horsepower and probably.
Yeah, you lost. It's not. You can only get 6 horsepower out of it, but you can lose a whole lot more when those things start rattling themselves loose, or really bad things happening when solid, the solid rollers decide to eat the engine. But Nick, it's just been great, get to kind of catch up and kind of tell a little bit of your story. So what, you got, if you're a racer out there, maybe you've had kind of a bummer of a year for 2020. What would you say to that guy that's thinking, I don't know if I want to get back into it? It's tough out there. It costs a lot of money, and I'm just not sure. What would you kind of say to that guy that's listening? Might be like, I think I'm going to hang it up.
Don't never hang it up. It's like me. I've always spent the money I had on my race car. Hey, that's what I got. We're going to go racing.
Mm-hmm.
May not run up front, but I'm going to have fun. Hopefully, we'll load her up with all 4 wheels on it and
mm-hmm.
have a little more money next week. But the people you meet and stuff like that, and it's well worth it. Well worth it. I tell people sometimes, and love to race, but I also like sitting up there in the stands watching races, especially,
mm-hmm.
If you go to track enough, you kind of know the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of got together last week, and look, they're running side by side.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a car, you don't get to watch as many races.
No.
Because you're going to be pedaling, filling it up with gas, iron tires up, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell people, go, spend what little money you can, have fun. I look at it this way, any sport, if just the winner shows up, you ain't going to have very much of a game or a race or anything. It
mm-hmm.
takes from the first car to the last to put on a good show.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge point, is that at the end of the day, anything involved in dirt track racing it's an entertainment. We're an entertainment business. People are spending their, people that are coming to the races, they work all week, and this might be their one fun night of the week. They might get to go and watch some racing, and that's what they like to do. They bring their kids with them. Maybe their dad used to take them to the racetrack and putting on a good show. And that's what I think is great about that attitude of just, I'm going to have fun with it and not worry as much about how it works out, because it matters is that fan sitting in the stands, and they're going to look out, and they might be, I don't know, I might be their favorite driver, and they're rooting for me, and I might not ever get to meet them,
before any of this happened,
mm-hmm.
I went to other towns around North Mississippi now, and people say something, drive at 74? I said, yes, sir. I said, I've seen you race at Columbus or something like that, and that really blowed my mind, back then that, somebody 40, 60 miles away from Boone would, recognize me and say,
mm-hmm.
you drive, don't really know it, you drive at 74 car.
Mm-hmm.
And what has happened now is just unreal.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I ask myself, I say, why me? Because there's thousands of people out there that race every day, work every day, barely make it to the racetrack.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Nick, you symbolize that. I think you symbolize that guy that every racetrack has to a lot of people, and they see the work that you've done over the years, and people that know you close and that are that have been following you for years. They've been waiting for this opportunity, and you show that every racetrack has somebody that's just, they worked all week to get there, and they're just excited to be there. And I always tell people, and I don't know how it works on your track, but get a pit pass, and one night, not every night, because it's more expensive than getting a gate, but go down in the pits and meet some of the drivers. And obviously when they're thrashing the car, not the time to go up and say, hey, my name's Kyle. But get to know them, because the stories they have and what they do to get their car out there and put on a good show is just awesome. And I think, there's such a sacrifice there. And I think that's why when your story came out, everybody saw that and said, what, that reminds me. Like I said, there's a guy at Makokata Speedway that's about 45 minutes away from my house, and he runs a hobby stock, Roger Winkler's, and him and his wife are there every week running their late model, or running their, hobby stock, and they might not be running the front, but they always are having a good time. And
that's what it's all about, having
mm-hmm.
a good time.
Yep. And so I think that's what you show, that you bring that out. Like when I saw your story, that's what I thought of. I thought of that, and I thought, man, what? This summer I want to make sure to get in the pits and hang out with Roger sometime. I've usually hanging out with my buddy that's pit next to him as we're thrashing on whatever we just broke.
Yep.
But Nick, so I'm just excited to be able to tell a little bit of that story and keep me up to date as as where you're going this year. If you do some big travel, and let me know, because depending on where I'm at, we might be close enough. I'd love to come see you wheel that number 74X around the track.
I know. Just like I say, it's blowed me away. There's been people calling from California, all over the United States, calling, wanting to help Nick.
Mm-hmm. And we will put a link, 'cause I think you have like a merch store up now. It's all on Xtreme Racing. If you guys make sure, if you're seeing something with Nick stuff on it, go to make sure it's from Xtreme Racing, because that's pretty much the only ones that are actually tied in. I'll put a link in the description of this podcast if you're interested in any of the merch or any of the stuff to help support Nick and help support the team of Xtreme Racing out. Check that out, because I know that's gonna be huge. So that that way you can have a full season and have be able to have a fun time at the racetrack.
Yep. That's all. Like I said, that's all it's about to me is go have fun, make some good friends. One thing I'll say, I've never been around a group of people that will help you any way they can. Get your car back running just so they can go out there and just run as damn hard as they can to beat you.
Yep. Oh yeah, buddies. It's always friends in the pits, and then you get on the track and you get the helmet on, and you no longer are friends.
Yep, it's racing, man.
Yep. Well, Nick, I don't want to take. I know you probably got. I've seen about a bunch of interviews and a bunch of stuff, and probably get that car ready for this weekend. Nick, I want to thank you for coming on again. Check the description. There'll be links to the Xtreme Racing Facebook page. Check that out. Also, I'll put some stuff up for the merch. If you guys want to get any of the awesome gear there, make sure to do that through them, because that'll help Nick and the team out. Nick, I want to thank you again for coming on and just kind of giving a little bit of time and telling the story, because I think I've just been sitting here excited about race season. I mean, we're a couple weeks away in our neck of the woods, and I'm excited to get out to the track. And I hopefully, like I said, hopefully when you get as you get traveling this summer, hopefully I get a chance to see you out at the track. But Nick, thanks for coming on, and we'll hang on the phone. We'll talk a little bit, but for that, for Bibster Talks 2, we'll see you. I promise you guys, it will not be a year until the next podcast comes out, because I already have interviews lined up. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Hey, so this is weird, because we know I just closed the podcast out, and you probably were not expecting there to be more, but I am the worst person to deal with track racing, because I totally forgot sponsors. So Nick, we were talking off air, and you were like, hey, these guys to help you out. Give me a list of those who you want to thank for helping sponsor, and I'm going to, as many of these companies that I can put links in the description, I'm going to put links in the description. So if you are interested in anything these companies have, these are the ones to support, because they're helping Nick out. And so Nick, give me your list of, talk about your sponsors a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much. The first person I would really like to thank is Christopher Kelly. He was the one that YouTubed the video, and he's with Floco Racing Flower Tower at Bristol.
Okay.
Like I said, he's the one started it all. But the sponsors that have reached out to me, Cody Roberts with Bullet Chassis, Trent Thomason with Pro Brake Systems is putting brakes on the car that Bullet Chassis has agreed to build me.
Nice.
Matt Gatton with Gatton Towing called and said, pretty much what y'all need, what can we help you with? Earl Ramey Racing Engines have donated us a crate engine. Trevor with Dynamic Designs, Trick Race Cars. Kevin Badzoff, I probably mispronounced his last name. Lizard Light Lighting has sent us some lights for a trailer. Kobe Metalworks, City Raceway. And we would really like to thank Race Ranch for the great design and getting it done real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few people that around here over the years that's helped me out some. I'd like to thank Phillips Engines in Corinth, Mississippi for the motor that got me to Bristol 2 weekends ago. Kenny Waters, he's a friend of mine, builds my transmissions, carburetors when I need them. Onion Johnson's got a little Johnson service down here. He gives me gas alone, and he has let me borrow carburetors. I'd also like to thank John Warnke, because like I said, he started all this by saying something about his son was going to go. We've been friends forever, so we went together. I've talked about Ed Stearns before, as far as, best friend that's not with us. Him and Kenny Wheeler, I'd like to, throw their name in there for all the help they done too. That's it.
Like I said, I thank you so much, Nick, for coming on. And like I said, I apologize everyone that I completely, all the sponsors, I completely forgot. I was like, it was in my head to even talk about it. And then we got talking about other stuff, and I got excited about racetracks. And when Bibster gets excited about racetracks, usually most other things will just goes right out of the brain, and I will forget to talk about them. But yeah, so those will be in the description, as well as Xtreme Racing. Again, there's merch. There's links on there. If you go on their Facebook, Xtreme Racing, there's links to all that stuff. Like I said, just make sure you're going through them, because that way it helps out the team, and it'll help out Nick. But Nick, again, I'll wrap things up again. I know we already did this, but hang on the line, we'll talk. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for telling your story. I'm hoping that let's try and do this in a couple months, and let's talk about how your season's going, and how things are and what it's like being at a racetrack now, and just kind of catch up a little bit, because I'd love to keep telling your story and keep hearing and to hear more of it. So for Bibster Talks 2, hope you guys had a great listen, and this time it's for real. Bye.